record button to upload to YouTube later. So hi everyone on YouTube watching the replay. Welcome to Sunday Sesh. I am here with the woman who needs no introduction, Jo, from Awakening to the Light Within. So we're back here. It's Sunday again.
Apparently we're ploughing through December.
Aren't we just? Aren't we just? And I'm here currently in my position where I'm recovering slowly. So thank you for everyone who's reached out and expressed their concern and sent the positive love and healing vibes. I have an ice pack on my foot, and this has been my MO for about a week. So luckily I have a profession where I can do that if I need to. But yeah, it's certainly been do you know what I was about to call December? Dig deep or try dying. Or die trying, sorry. That just came straight into my head. I was actually thinking about the what's the movie called? Get Rich or Die Trying. This is like dig deep, or I don't know. Doesn't it feel like that? I mean, I don't know about you, Jo, but I'll just kick it off by saying, like, this last week in the physical transformation, purification, healing, recovery, pre-existing condition, flare up, but it's so multidimensional. It's not just a physical ailment, you know, there's so much more to it. And I have called this the most intense purification I think I've ever experienced. So
yeah,
and that says a lot.
Yeah, it's there certainly seems to be some major cellular shifts.
Right.
And this is an interlude into how Sunday Sesh is going to go today. We're just going to make words up and everyone's just going to have to guess what they mean. But we're cool.
Because half the time we don't even know, right?
Words. I mean, who needs them anyway, right?
Well, we're going to be living in a telepathic society soon enough. So, that's my theory anyway. So sticking with it. So, Jo, sorry, I'm just getting up the comments. So just bear with me. Jo, do you want to kick us off? Like, what has been some of the themes? What have you noticed this week? What's been going down?
Oh, what is going down? So I think the clearing stuff is still very prevalent. I think everybody is kind of on an agreement that 2020 is going to be huge. There have been such phenomenal high energies coming in, and like you said, dimensionally everything just feels a little bit woo-woo. You know, the time is either on go fast or stretch slow at the moment, and then there's these moments of kind of blissed outness, feeling new that's coming in. But it really is kind of, I just kind of get this visual of the sink plunger. You know, we've got to pull all the shit out of the pipes before we're completely clear. And there's ultimately, I think, as we've said before, I'm going to go quite deep, but you know, as a race, as a human race, we are evolving, we are shifting, and that means that people that are consciously aware or people that are not consciously aware are being pushed and twisted and contorted to kind of shift a lot of stuff. Obviously we've got eclipse season coming up, and that can go one or two ways for people as well. And I think it's the 26th, isn't it? So Boxing
Yeah,
Day.
we've got Boxing Day, 26th of December.
Mm.
And then
And I
a fortnight later, again on the 11th of January.
So I kind of, I think more than anything else, anybody that's kind of been going through this plunging of getting the sludge and the gun cow, whether it's, you know, emotionally, physically, mentally, however, spiritually, whatever that's looking like for people, we already know a lot of how that feels. So let's not kind of go back in there. But I think what I want to say is that just self-care, 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 self-care. Because at this time of the year, people go a little bit batshit crazy. People get dragged into the shoulds and you must and you have to, and you know, yeah, but you know, Aunt Sally, who you can't stand because she's just really toxic and sits and puts you down for 4 hours, tough shit, you've got to spend Christmas with her. And I guess what I want to say is actually there can be a level of self-care within that, whether or not that's your own meditative practice, getting out into nature, you know, energizing your crystals, cleaning your energy. If you do have to go and do stuff you don't want to do over Christmas because you're still in a place where you're fulfilling those expectations, then do it with self-love and do it with self-care and just make your way through, because with the eclipse coming on Boxing Day, that is definitely going to shake out some stuff that's come up before Christmas. So
yeah, and I think I looked up the dates just before we went on because we just wanted to double check, and 26 in Australia could very well mean, you know, the 25th or the 24th in other places around the world. So it could be one of those that is actually falling on the height of family fun.
Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, everybody that knows me, I've been called a Grinch so many times that I actually laugh at it now. And I had to have it explained to me because I genuinely don't, I have nothing against Christmas. I enjoy the love and the giving and that kind of part of it. But the commercialization, the way that people are pushed into certain situations that might be toxic, people spending money that they, you know, getting themselves into debt, pressure, tension, divorce rates, suicide rates, all of those potential negative, well, very negative human traits are at an optimum high around the festive period. And I guess from my perspective, what I just want to say is that, you know, Christmas is going to happen anyway, but self-care, self-love, self-care, self-love, because in addition to everything else going on, it is another big added stress that a lot of people might not be knowing how to deal with right now.
Yeah, and I haven't been called a Grinch, although maybe behind my back I have. But for me, I don't know, something clicked inside me. I'm trying to think back when it was. It was around 2014, maybe. And I mean, for me, it had been changing, but all of a sudden, it was like it's not the same. And I remember, and I look back now, and I'm like, oh, I think I was kind of purging the collective energy because I literally went to a family gathering that was very, very small. And it was fine. There was nothing, you know, there was no, and I went home and sobbed and cried for like 4 hours and I didn't even know why, you know. And so after that, I just decided that I wasn't going to do Christmas anymore. So I've literally spent since then, like, either on a plane because you get really cheap flights on Christmas Day.
Little handy travel hint.
I've done that many. I've done Egypt and Brazil, and I've flown out on Christmas Day and got a really good deal, and just been up in the air enjoying. um, and then I've taken myself away to literally be in solitude. You know, the last year was the first year I actually spent Christmas with my family. in probably 5 years. So it's, I think,
no, and I get that. It's not Grinchy. It's and that's why I had to have it explained to me, because someone actually said, which is funny because being a parent, I have seen the Grinch has been on my TV at least 100 times, but I think I just lost the, all I saw was the green dude. I didn't really get the message, which was, the whole over subscribing and the over everything,
yeah,
which he was against. It wasn't
right.
it wasn't the togetherness. It was, so yeah, I think that's the thing more than anything else, because there are so many people, as it stands, that are being pushed to clear things, as we've said, with on whatever level they're clearing at, whether it's emotionally and physically, mentally, spiritually. And there's also this the thing that if you get into a highly stressed situation or something like that, what we find can happen is that you have all of these commercials that, like, you're going to be with your loved one at Christmas. Well, for some people that isn't a reality. This is what Christmas is going to look like. This is what it's going to smell like. This is what it should taste like. This is what, and I kind of excuse the expletive, everybody, but I just kind of think, fuck off. It's one day. People need to do Christmas the way that they need to do Christmas for themselves.
Yeah.
And then they'll get through it a lot better.
Yeah, yeah. And I've kind of, I totally agree with you. And for someone who worked in retail for a very long time, I was quite tainted by Christmas and the commercial, the commercialism. Commercialism? Yeah. Did I get that right? Sorry, I'm a little bit tapped out at the moment. But for a very long time, because by the time I got to Christmas, I had literally just worked from the 1st of December, and I'd worked 12-hour days, and then so I used to be a workaholic. Confessions of a workaholic. But for a couple of years there, I literally, completely illegal, but I literally worked 3 days straight, because we had the 24-hour trading, and I would go from one store to the other. And so by the time I got to Christmas Day, I was literally in my bed, passed out. I didn't want to see anyone or do anything. I would come out of my bed, make an appearance, get some food, crawl back in. Just this is all I could muster up. Sorry, I've gone on a tangent, but I think, oh yeah, that's right. I was talking about being a renegade. I mean, because the planet is going through such vast change on every level. I've been one for a couple of years now, really challenging. Does Christmas have to be how it has been? Do birthdays have to be celebrated the way that they have been? Why can't we just, come together with the people that we love and share that, without all the gifting, all the, the, the food, the preparation, the clean. Like, it's so stressful. And especially when you're thrown into the dynamic of, let's face it, I don't think there's a family unit on this planet where everyone just gets along and loves each other, and I would like to see that, actually, if that exists.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like TV families, like back in the day. Yeah, did the Waltons all get on? I don't know. Maybe.
Well, I was thinking the Brady Bunch, but like,
oh, is that the one where they were in the little boxes, a bit similar to what we are now? Oh dear. But I think yeah, there's, we've spoken before about people dropping out of your life, and the more sensitive that you become, the harder it is to be around certain people. And I think this is one of those times of the year that, irrespective of how well you're doing with not being around certain people, there may well be a push, or you need to. And it's just about kind of tuning into yourself, if that's something that you have to do to ensure that your emotional and energetic well-being is taken care of in those moments. Because bloodlines are bloodlines. What you're going to do. So yeah, that was the big one that I'd wanted to bring up, because I think there's a lot of pressure out there on people already.
Thank you. I just muted myself while I rotate the frozen pack. Don't have the I hesitated whether to come on tonight because I have, I'm still not at optimal capacity, shall we say, and I, about an hour and a half ago, got this blistering headache, and I was like, no, let's get on it and jump on. And so when I asked, what should we be discussing and what topics should we be talking about, to my surprise, I got divine partnership, twin dynamic, and I just kind of went, oh. But I think we need to go there. Jo, are you okay to go there?
I'm good to go there, yeah. So again, I actually feel like it for this time of the year, I think it is also quite prevalent. I mean, obviously, there are shifts that are going on in the masculine and the feminine gender-wise, but also within the masculine and the feminine centres within all of us. It's something that we're spoken about at length, but actually this time of the year, particularly if you are in a twin dynamic, can be very painful, and it can bring up a lot, actually, a lot of questioning about whether or not you're bonkers, whether or not your intuition is on point, whether or not this person cares, whether or not, ultimately you can question yourself backwards and forwards and up and down again until you're literally at the point where you're questioning your own sanity, because it can be really, really intense. Because in addition to the season of, giving and all of that, it's also the season of love, where people express their love in very different ways, and it can be incredibly difficult if you are potentially not around people that understand the journey. They don't understand the reasoning, and they are all coupled up, or everything is parties where people are going together, or there's a million and one different things that are going to potentially come and slap you around the face with a cold fish and go, wow, your life's really great right now, when you're on the twin journey at this time of the year. And I think sometimes we can be almost desperate for something to show us that we're not crazy. And if we're in that kind of deeper pool of sizing these things up, trying to work out where we are within ourselves, the thing that came to me earlier is that if you are in a twin dynamic, they are a perfect anesthetic to everything. They can show up, they can show up in whatever way, shape or form, and it can just anaesthetize things really beautifully. And I think sometimes when they don't, it can become incredibly painful, and you can go into a deeper pool and draw of what's going on. But at the same time, it's designed that they're not going to anaesthetize you at certain points, because if they do, whatever process, whatever funnel you're in of clearing, you're just going to pop straight back up to the top, and you're going to have to go back and do it again. So, just find, God, this sounds so easy, and I almost hate myself for saying it, so I'm ready to take the hate, but it is about finding that love within ourselves, especially when we're really, really, really hurting. Because for me personally, I know that one of the biggest parts of my own journey was that it didn't matter in the end if somebody had chose me, because I chose me. And I think that was one of my most empowering lessons. So just keep choosing yourselves if you can.
That's beautiful. That's perfectly said. I think one thing that has sort of come to me, or come into my realization, is I guess it's I first want to say that I have had the privilege, I get to see in my work, I get to see the full sliding scale of the twin flame dynamic. So I'm there when the shit hits the fan, and I'm there, and I get to hear and witness and see the beauty as well. And I think it was last week I had just a whole string of really uplifting, beautiful stories from clients and people that I knew, of just really positive shifts that they were going through. And it makes my heart sing. It really, really does. And on the flip side, I've got a lot of clients that are going through some really challenging times. But I've had this, I've had this feeling, and I guess through my own observation and my own experiences, the closer things come to balancing out, let's say, the most unexpected heightened craziness starts to be thrown around in the cosmic dance. Can I put it that way? And just like anything, things exacerbate and get worse before they get better sometimes. So I guess I just want to, put a shout out to anyone who is going through some really rough times with their counterpart on their journey at the moment. It may just be the process of stirring the pot. And it's not easy. It's not easy because you've gone through both people have gone through such a process of transformation, and things start to coast along and go really well. And then you're like, oh, right, this is how it should be. And then all of a sudden it just catches you off guard, unaware, and just and so I think one thing that, God, I've had so many beautiful, I wish I had written them down, so many beautiful gems that have come, generally when I'm like in the shower or, at odd times. What was it? Something about, when we look at 3D relationships and people go, oh, that person has a lot of baggage, or, I had to, heal a lot of baggage, in terms of past relationships and, childhood stuff. And this thought came in and thought, twin journey or ascension journey. Talk about baggage. We're clearing lifetimes of residual, like this is whole other level. And in some cases it can be, and I mean that's been part of my healing journey in the last week. It really has been in relation to past life stuff that had been sitting there, and it was around my work and my process and my twin journey, and literally that was what I was told, that had to be burnt away. Jesus. Are you kidding me?
Right, it's kind of that thing, and I know we've said this before, and we all do it. I'm certainly going to stick my hand up and say guilty as charged, because we kind of can get to this point where we're like, oh, okay, yeah, I've cleared this, I've healed this, I've healed this part, I've done that, I've done this, and everything ticks along, as you say, quite nicely. And then you get like wiped out, and you sit there and it's like, oh my God, how, where, why? Like, how long has this one been murking in the corner for? Without me even knowing it was there. It was like, my vision was switched off for a bit. I didn't even know I had to overcome this one at the moment. Right. And it can feel like a real, it really can feel like a kick up the arse when you get sucked back into something really deep when you've been doing really well. But it's always, there's that thing that you're only ever shown something, or you're only ever given something when you're ready to be able to deal with it. And when we can sit there and we can say, right, okay, I'm at this point, I want to find, and something can be quite elusive to you until such time as it's ready to come up. And likewise, you know, if you're in a busy period and you've got all these emotions coming up, you can keep swallowing them down, you can keep swallowing it, but eventually, when it's ready, we, us, all of us, we have to. I hate saying have to, but the fact of the matter is, you know, the vehicles that we're in, we don't get to decide. We can try to avoid, or we can try to speed up, but ultimately we're going to be shown when the time is right, and we're going to do the work, because otherwise it will just get more and more uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I think that's beautiful, because I think there's a fine line between spiritual bypassing or avoiding, and digging around unnecessarily. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's really about giving over and trusting that you are revealed things to process in the right timing. And you just said that so beautifully, because I know I reflect on my own, like I just as an example, what I've just gone through in the last week, like that was such perfect timing. If I look at it from so many different angles, I mean, if that had happened 2 weeks prior, I was moving house. Just from that level, you know, not so much a emotional readiness. But I think it's the plot twist that we talk about, and the unexpected, and, you know, all those things. I think it, and also the relationships leading into connecting on a, I think that's a really important point too, is that it's constantly building muscle and strength to be able to unlodge and unhinge the big stuff when the time is right.
Yeah, I like that. Constantly building muscle. That's what we're doing, people. We are constantly building muscles we didn't know we needed.
And I think if it's okay for me to share, because this has been a lot of the reflection that I've had in the last few days. I don't even know why. It's just kind of been a reflection piece, and it's, I guess there's so much confusion. I always call the twin flame journey the most elusive one, because it's never that clear. For any aspect of it, it's never that clear. But I think a lot of people get caught up in the labels, and is it this person, is it that person? I think we can all attest to being there at one point. And so quite often I do reflect on my own journey, just to analyze, I guess, how did I know what, you know, all that sort of thing. And literally what came into my head was, I was in like hardcore preparation for a decade before we even came into energetic contact, and then it was another couple of years before then. Like, there was such a series. It wasn't just one day, boom, you know, there was
Boy meets girl.
no, and it's not meant to be. And I think that's, you know, sorry, I've got so much to say on this topic. You know, because quite often, you know, I will hear or see written or whatever, you know, the insinuation that, well, it would be so simple if we could just come together and live together, and, you know, have this, what we understand as a loving relationship. But it's not designed to be that way. You know, it's designed to, I think ultimately, yes, we get there, and we have it in a different way than what we've known in terms of the template, the 3D template of romantic relationships. But, you know, I know even in my journey, like the biggest plot twist that I had was when I thought that we were coming into some sort of a cohesion of what would look like quite a domestic living 3D relationship. And the universe just went, mm-mm. Off you go. More work to be
We're
done.
breaking those molds. And I think
Right.
that's the thing, isn't it? Because ultimately, it will, in all essence, it's highly likely that it's going to be the most all-encompassing love that you're going to feel prior, up until that moment. It is all-encompassing. It is beyond the scope of rhyme or reason or understanding or any of those things. And then kind of, if you go through a situation whereby it's stripped away, that's when the inner searching and the understanding of, hey, I thought I was able to have a healthy relationship, but it turns out that I've needed XYZ, blah blah blah, this was my baggage, etc etc. And I love that you've said that, Alisha, because it's so very true that sometimes we can kind of go into this process of, oh, okay, but then it's going to look like this, or then it's going to look like that, well, naturally, because we can only think of how something's going to look from our minds that understand how something has previously looked. But we're breaking those molds. That entire old structure and way that we put in our mindset of what something would be like is the very essence of what we're doing, of breaking that, So it's I mean, to everybody that's on that journey, I think you're all incredibly brave, because we've all signed up to do it, and it's not an easy one. And it can sometimes feel like such a solitary place to be, especially within the confines of society, who, I think we said last week, didn't we? Or I can't remember. Oh, you're still single. Why ain't you on Plenty of Fish or wherever? Or you need to just go find, and da 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 da. And it's just like, no.
No, it does. And the whole, from my, and I think that there's so many different interpretations and understandings of the term twin flame, but from my perspective, that is divine partnership, twin soul. It is the ascension partner. It is the life partner. It is the all-encompassing. Because I heard someone recently, just on YouTube, talk about oh, that's a twin flame. Oh no, you stay away from that, as though it was more of a toxic karmic relationship. And it just kind of spun me out, because I guess in my world and the people that I'm connected to, like, we all have a mutual understanding of, we're all on the same page basically. And then I realized that there's this whole world out there that's on slightly different understandings and levels. Where was I going with that? See, I could go on and on about this.
I mean, to be honest with you, when you said that, I thought to myself, actually, dependent on someone's experience within this stuff,
Wow.
I know a lot of people that have just said, oh, do you know what, I'm just so tired of this, I'd happily find myself a nice soulmate that I can get along with and live happily ever after with.
Wow, yeah.
Because this whole
We've all been there.
Exhausting. And if you've kind of been in a situation whereby either you've experienced it firsthand, or you've heard a lot of people kind of going through the real stripped bare elements of self that are encapsulated within the twin dynamic, you could, if you're still externalizing, view that as a really toxic relationship. Because I mean, I can remember at one point saying, oh my God, nobody has ever hurt me like this person's hurt me.
Yeah.
And it took me some time to realize that actually they didn't, I did. It was all my own shit, my thought processes and my, needs and my insecurities and my shit coming up that was hurting me. They did nothing. And it was like, but for a while, they were the devil incarnate, it was like, holy shit. So I can kind of see how some people might view it that way, depending on where they are.
It's very much, I think, I have to bring out an old article I wrote about transcending the levels of consciousness through the twin dynamic. And very much, you know, we understand at this level, we understand at this level, it's ever evolving understanding. And yeah, absolutely, from an onlooker, I mean, I know that I know even to this day, people who don't understand the dynamic will look at my situation, they just can't even comprehend. But it doesn't matter. It's not their journey. It's not for them to make sense of. You know, I can just giggle and laugh. But I think that the whole core element and purpose is the fact, you know, bringing it back to the fact that it is for the purpose of evolution and ascension. You know, these are highly spiritual connections that will unravel all your programming, all your conditioning, everything that you've brought in, every template that you've brought in into this lifetime to unravel. That is what it's designed to do. And when both parties can get to a place of holding that frequency of who they truly are, you know, then that's the coming together, you know. But it takes a lot of work. It's not, there's no magic wand, there's no magic pill. There is.
Can I just add as well that it is a relay race, not a race, but it is a tag team event.
Right.
It is a relay, and I think there are a lot of people within the community that have done a shit ton of work, and then all of a sudden they're sitting back and they're going, well, what are you doing? You're just letting the team down, aren't you? Because you're not, you know, I've done all of this work and blah 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 and blah 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 blah. And actually, if anything, I'd just like to say it would be really nice if we could, that for those that have put in a lot of work, have compassion for those that have still got to go through their unravelings or their dark nights or their because actually most of us probably will have gone through that, and we all know it can be an incredibly painful experience. So some compassion and understanding and just general unconditional love for those that we do love can be really, really helpful, because the very essence of still looking at someone thinking, well, you're not doing your bit, is kind of still showing that we're externalizing a little bit. It's like we say, it's deep and complex.
It really is. And I mean, I think we should maybe come in and do a video or I've just realized we're not live. We haven't been live for a long time. Thank goodness we have the recording. So I will upload this. Thank you for watching the replay. Sorry, the live dropped out. But maybe we can do
Thank you
more on
for all your comments later.
Yeah. We're so appreciative. But maybe, yeah, put in some comments, because I do get a lot of requests and questions of people asking me about the dynamic and how to, you know, I can't even think of it. I think the last one was, you know, how to navigate, you know, the 3D, 5D connection. And that's a challenging one. But I could make a great segment, because there's a lot of beauty and humor and just downright craziness that you have to laugh about, you know. So it's not all.
And I think when I've said about, you know, that love and compassion for your counterpart when they are potentially dragging their heels or not looking like they're putting any work in, also reserve that love and compassion for yourself as well, because it's apparently that's what I want to say now. It is that thing of, you know, even though we're sitting here and we're having this conversation, again, I will put my hand up and say, I'm by no stretch of the imagination perfect. I will still sometimes spiral into old thought processes. The difference is I can pick them up quicker, but that will happen. I might sometimes, it took me probably a year and a half to unravel some real deep-rooted grief so that it wasn't projected in that direction. It can be really, really hard to reprogram ourselves from an old way to a new way. And if you're even trying, then salute you, because it's not easy. And we do, I kind of want to say relapse, I don't know if that's the right word, but we all do find ourselves almost being sucked back. But then often that's like the arrow pull, isn't it? We're sucked back to get flown forward a bit further. So when you're in those moments, don't self-hate. Just appreciate, you know, the understanding
I like
that, oh
that.
shit, I'm here again.
Put that on a bumper sticker. Don't self-hate, appreciate. I love it.
We've got a new meme.
I love that. I love that. I think we can almost wrap that up there with that. But, you know, there is so much more to say. And I think, yeah, you said it perfectly. There is so much ebb and flowing. There's so much multiple timelines playing out. So it can be quite rocky at times. And remember that even though on the surface it may seem as though, you know, one's doing all the work and it's not, because what they're not doing is provoking emotions within you. So it's, you know, it's going back to that self, you know, reflection. And I think while we're going through ascension, all of our relationships are tested, no matter, you know, whether it's family, soul family, you know, whatever. And so that person who is going to be the person, as I so eloquently like to say, the only person that can make me go to zero to 100 in like a split second on the emotional scale. Of course, it's going to get dicey and crazy and all that good stuff. So keep in mind that two people are going through an ascension process and triggering and loving one another and coming in and out of frequency. You know, yeah, even if it doesn't look like they're doing anything on the surface, let me tell you 100%, everyone is going through their awakening. It just looks different for different people. That's all.
Absolutely. And there is no one, this isn't, you know, Cinderella. There is no one shoe fits all. It's it's and I think that's our disliking of the potential labels and things like that, because the road can be like this, and that's okay. It's, you know, don't compare it to other people's, because each of our own paths is specifically designed for us.
Yeah, totally. With that, let's call it a wrap. Thank you so much, Jo, for being here with me as we do this what has turned into a recording, not a live stream, but don't worry, we'll be back next week. Just on a side note, there are 2 transmissions coming up in December. So 12/12 Gateway, which is a big gateway for divine partnership. There's one transmission for that, and another one on December Solstice on the 22nd of December. And also we've got the live stream for the Soul Fam Solstice Gathering. So I'll put all the details in the description box below. Of course, if you need support, Jo and I are here. You can still snap up a session before the year's out. And if not, mwah, mwah, mwah. And we'll connect with you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.